Good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to try to do justice to this great man, but here's the thing, greatness was his normal. The Gemara says, the famous statement of Chazal, and Ha'omer halo b'chol yom hareze macharef u'megadef. To say halo on a weekday, right? It's no praise to God. You're just you're just the opposite. You're actually ki'ilu putting him down, right? That's Gemara. You might wonder why. That's counterintuitive. I want to pray. I want to say halo every single day because I'm so blown away about how great Tuesdays are, right? So what's wrong with that? Gemara says if it's not a din where you're chayiv to say halo, harezim macharef u'megadef. Right. So the Maral explains, right, that that this halacha, and it's halacha that we paskin, and that's why it's, without getting into politics, that's why it's a big deal to really know whether a day is really chayiv and halo or not, because it's not optional. Because on the tzad that it's not. It's not chayev and halo, then it's harezim macharef u'megadef if you do say halo, right? So what's pshat in this halacha? Right, so the Maral explains that the way halacha is set up is, halacha is patterned after human perception, and we were given the din of halal, whether doraisa according to the Ramban or according to the Rambam midrabanan, but the din of halal is for something that's truly exceptional. That's what it's for. So it's truly exceptional. So I'm sorry to say, I don't mean to sound insensitive, right? But what's normal and not exceptional, you say how on that, you're like calling the person a retard, pardon the expression. Right, that when a person who's mentally deficient does something normal, you clap because for him it was hard to do. Right, so that's why Omer Hal b'chol yom harezim macharef u'megadef. Right, the teva, which we're not amazed by. We consider it normal. There's no din of halo, and it's like and if you say halo, you say, oh, Kodesh Baruch Hu, you really outdid yourself this time. Right, and that's and we're only allowed to say that by nisim, where he really does something. Michutz l'gidro shel teva, nisim, combined that there's also a toelet. All the dinim of halo is for special circumstances, not for the normal, Right. For example, a deficient person, and doing normal is like a big accomplishment for him, right? And that's the Maral. Okay, so what's very unique, about Rav Chaim Kanievsky is that being shakua b'limud and caring about Klal Yisrael, that wasn't something that he did on his high moments. That was his normal. That was his regular default situation, right? Day in and day out, right? And that's what I think is the categorical difference, and the difference I want to focus on for tonight's discussion between him and everyone's done something right in his lifetime, right? And we kind of cherry pick, and we have to be careful. We have to be careful in halacha. When we by the hespedim, you cherry pick like from person's highlights, the big things that he's done, and that's mutter to do so long as you don't exaggerate too much. Because if it wasn't really who he was, it was just something that he did, totally b'mikra. So you're ma'orer dinim on the person. So we have to have to praise, person's, high points, but it has to be that those high points somehow represent who he really was deep down, even though it wasn't, constant, but, it was reflective of his real essence, right? And, but by Reb Chaim, you say a gadol b'Torah, a masmid, careful about every moment, didn't want to waste any time, care about Klal. So, if we praise it as being like, in the way we do by lahavdil others, right? Other niftarim that were kind of cherry picking the highlights. With the assumption, of course, that his pintel yid, that deep down on the inside, his highlights reflect his real, right? But it's not his highlights; it was his regular default. And I feel, it is my feeling that if you talk about this Maisa of how he was faster than the computer, tell you how many times Moshe has written in the Chumash, and he outsmarted the computer because twice the computer just saw the Mem Shin Hey Tziruf, but it didn't mean Moshe the person, right? You talk about that as if that was a particular incident. That was his default. That was his normal. And it seems to me that to focus on this particular Maisa, that particular Maisa, it's Hareza Macharafu Megadef, right? Because this unique individual, this wasn't an exceptional story here, an exceptional story there. His default was that he was Sarah Torah. That he was learned 17 hours a day for 90 years straight. That he knew Kol Torah Kula cold, right? And that's why I feel in a certain way a lot of the approach of the sale over Maitzlach, right, in a manner that might. Right. We're being joined by a guest. Right. A guest came in, very close. A guest. I feel. Bruchim Aboim Reb Tzvi. Bruchim Aboim. We're talking about normal. We're a normal family, but that's the whole theme of tonight's thing about define normal. Define normal. Right?
Does he do that when you come in? Or you,
yeah.
You calm him down?
Everyone gets the same greeting.
Gets the same treatment? Okay. He wants sushi.
Anyways, I was just saying.
Started
already, but you're fine. But we were saying that there's halacha of Homer halal b'chol yom hareza machara from Megadef.
The only other halal you could say every day if you want is halal hagadol. Halal hagadol is considered to be okay.
Right. So what's the hesber in that? So we quoted the Maharal that said that halal is a special halacha, right, for exceptional things. Exceptional things.
Miracles, really miracles.
Miracles. Nisim, where there's also hatava, it's for special circumstances. So Maharal explains that to do it b'chol yom, by routine, chas v'shalom, you're saying about whoever you're being mahalel, they must be mentally deficient because you're giving them halal for the routine. So that's what you do for a person mentally deficient. You clap for them if they walk straight or if they do anything correctly. And that's why Omer Halal B'chol Yom is a Machar from Megadef. Right? So I was saying about what, which is part of the theme of tonight, is that, what sets Reb Chaim apart from, many great people that were maspid, that were allowed to, in as much as the halacha allows, to cherry pick and say exceptional things that they did, with the understanding that perhaps it's reflective of who they really were on the inside, even though these incidents only came up once every so often. And we know we're not allowed to exaggerate, because we exaggerate, we're ma'orer dinim, right? So even we're not allowed to lie, but we
about somebody passed on.
You have to be very so you're allowed to cherry pick, like their highlights, with the understanding that their highlights were reflective of who they really were. So in their moments of challenge, their essence came out, and if you know that that's not what you're saying, then what you're doing is,
Could you
Lisa,
get away from me, please? He's licking my face.
Sorry about that.
I know some people kiss their dog.
It's a dog.
Right. Anyway, I'm sorry, we're totally normal family. But so what I was saying is, it all fits to the theme, right? I feel that by Reb Chaim, to talk about his.
No wonder you don't have anybody here.
Right.
You got a wild dog here.
Please, Reb Tzvi. V'rachamav al kol maso.
I love dogs.
I love all of God's
I don't
creatures.
like them looking at my face.
Right.
She likes you.
It's a she?
It's a she.
Now I understand.
Yeah. No, so what I would say is like this, about Reb Chaim. You talk about, his hasmada, his chesed. It's almost beget a reza machar from Megadif, because for 90 years straight he was learning until he dropped. Right, for 90 years straight, or for a decade straight, he received thousands of people a day. Le'etzo bracha, being sar haTorah wasn't something that here or there. He was.
The fellow came to him.
What?
And he said his son got killed in 21. He got killed in. You saw that?
None
the video? You didn't see the video?
Go ahead, say over, please.
No, send it over to your video so you can see.
But say it over for our audience.
There's an item there.
There's an item here. There's some people online.
So it must be going around, so others have seen it. But it seems that in 2020, there was a high officer in the army.
Right.
He was 21 years old, and he got killed in one of their operations.
Mm-hmm.
And he was an only child.
Right.
His father went to see Reb Chaim.
Right.
So he walked in, and he said, "Do you know who I am?" He says, "Yeah, you're the father of the hero of Israel." So he said to him, "You should know that your boy is up in Gan Eden, and he's sitting between Rabbi Akiva and somebody else he mentioned. I forgot who it is. You would recognize him in a minute. I just don't remember. He's sitting up front, the closest possible seat you could sit, right in between Rabbi Akiva and somebody else." And then he tells, so he left. I said to him, he left. He went from there. He went to some kind of a gas station to fill up, and a woman walks over to him and says, "I had a dream about you." And because she recognized him also as the father of that boy.
Uh-huh.
And he said, "What was the dream?" He said, "I dreamt that your son is up in Gan Eden, and he's sitting in between Rabbi Akiva and the other Tana, whoever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Imagining that the other one is also Rabbi Akiva. It stuck in my head because Rabbi Akiva died also at Kiddush Hashem.
Right.
So I imagine that the other one also died at Kiddush Hashem, and there must be a special place in Gan Eden for people who died. The real Kiddush Hashem,
right.
Trying to save Klal Yisrael, that type of.
So that's correct, and that is a chazal, and that the Ram brings lahalacha in Parakeh of Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah that anyone who dies al kishem is b'mechitzas Rabbi Akiva v'chaverav she'en l'mal mimechitzasam.
That's what he does. That's what he got it from the Gemara.
There you go. Sarah Torah.
I thought he was got a prophecy or something.
No, it's a halacha. It's a halacha. The Ram brings lahalacha in Parakeh of Hilchos Torah.
I have a cousin whose son. He had one of 7 sons and plus a daughter, and he was a career army officer. He was 31 years old. He had 2 children. He's married to a rabbi's daughter. He lives in the Golan, this fellow. And he was the first person to get killed when they went into Gaza. He was leading a whole command, and he was supposed to be, and they shot him in the head. But they must have gotten, because he's pretty shielded. They must have got him just where.
Right under the helmet.
For about 2 or 3 years, he was unconscious, looking really nice because they saw him sitting in a chair and everything, but unconscious, completely unconscious, and parents took care of him, sitting there. And then the prime minister came to award him an award, and they gave him they elevated him post-mortem, posthumously, I should say, posthumously.
Right.
They ordered him. They gave him an elevation in the army, he was anywhere quite a high position.
Right.
From a high position, and eventually he did pass away.
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably also sitting there.
That's it. Anyone who dies of Kiddush Hashem is b'mechitzas Rabbi Akiva v'chaverav. It's that Ram brings it lahalacha in Pirkei of Hilchos Yisodei HaTorah. But halachas of Kiddush Hashem. And so Maran Sarah Torah.
How do you explain the woman who had the dream?
No, I'm saying unbelievable.
How do you explain that?
So I was, so I'm going to tell you. I mean, listen, a person who lives on, you're reminding me of an Orach Chaim. Listen to this Orach Chaim. That, by Kriyas Yamsuf, unbelievable. Vayaminu ba'Hashem Moshe Avda. They saw it, they got overwhelmed, right? So wait a minute. Rav Pinchas Ben Yair also used to stop the river to pass the Gru Pidyon Shvuyim, right? So what's the pella? I mean, the Tanaim, stop the flows of rivers like that, right? So the Orach Chaim asked the kasha, right? So what's the big pella? All the Tanaim could do that, I have to say, I'm sorry, Lahavdil. When I lived in Beit Shemesh, he's down by the Boston Rebbe there. The son of Rav Moshe of Boston, Besoifion was in Beit Shemesh where I lived, and I was once, it was a Motzei Shabbos. We did Kiddush Levana, and the son-in-law of the Boston Rebbe was a Halberstam. It says that in the Pinkas of Tiktin, right? The Kehilas kept a Pinkas. They kept a ledger of things that went on Kihil, including historic events. So in the Pinkas of Tiktin, right? So they wrote that once the Maram Tiktin was out by Kiddush Levana, and it was cloudy, and they said, we paraphrase a statement from the Gemara that Meir and Beis Dino are waiting, and immediately the clouds parted, and they were nispal, and they wrote it in the Pinkas of Tiktin, this story. They said, what's the pella? Every Rebbe in Borough Park has done that 50 or 60 times, right? Right. What's the bell? Every Rebbe Borough Park has done that 50, 60 times. No, so I just want to tell you something. No. So you say you talk about. Listen, let's get to the point over here. So Orach Chaim asked this the same kasha, right? That, Moshe Avdu by Kriyas Yamsuf, when Pinchas Ben Yair was also able to stop the river and say, I'm going for Pinyan Shvuyim, I'm going, and he stopped. So Tanoim were able to do the same thing.
They only report it when it has historical significance. It's not simply to compliment somebody. It's when Klal Yisrael is involved and it saves Klal Yisrael, or it's part of their historical thing.
No, so I'll tell you, so the Orach Chaim goes in a different derech. But that's the kasha. There's a big pella, Moshe's got to be Eved Hashem because he split the arms of, Pinchas Ben Yair did it all the time, So the Orach Chaim, right? It was a pella because it was Kodem Matan Torah. It was a pella because Kriyas Yamsuf was Kodem Matan Torah. That's what he writes. It was a pella. It was a pella because it was Kodem Matan Torah. But a person who's a Baal Torah, of course, he's L'mala min hateva. It was a pella only because it was Kodem Matan Torah. Right? Lachar Matan Torah, of course, any Baal Torah. By him, is he's L'mala min hateva because he's ochuz and he's dovuk in the Torah. That's L'mala min hateva. That's what the Orach Chaim writes. So it's only a pella in its era because it was Kodem Matan Torah, right? So
I heard about a similar. You want to go?
No, go ahead.
I heard from this hill, the Makubal Hill,
Rav Yaakov Hill.
Rav Yaakov Hill. So he asked the question: how come Moshe Rabbeinu? First time he hit the rock,
right,
and water came out, and it was fine. Everything was fine. Nobody could. And then later on, he does it, and he says, "Shimon Amarim," and all of a sudden he complains, and all of a sudden he loses his right to go into Eretz Yisrael. What was the difference between the two? What changed? Why up there he hit it, and this one he hit it? He said the difference was Matan Torah was in between. After Matan Torah, that's not the way you do it. You don't have to hit anybody. All you have to do is you have to teach them Torah.
Yeah.
But to show them the derech, and that's the. And I add to it.
Yes.
That's what Rabbi Akiva was Moshe for Rabbi Akiva. And he says that it's a little. It doesn't matter how hard their hearts are. They don't have to be hit. Slowly, the drip of Torah will eventually have an impact on them. And so that was the Chilul Hashem. This Torah doesn't require that kind of a.
I hear that very strong. No,
I
that's the point.
thought it was an interesting thing.
Okay, no, so we're saying the same thing that a person who's davak in Torah, his normal is l'mala min hateva. His normal. So so Reb Chaim that.
It's fine.
Right. So afterwards, so Reb Chaim was davak in Torah, right? And he was davak in Torah constantly. It wasn't like Amol. He had this unbelievable streak, but it was consistent. So what I feel, is to glorify it, to say the classical aspectum of cherry picking, in certain ways, macharif and megadif, because his default mode was always to be Davik and Torah. His default mode was to be there for Klai, so for Bracha and Eitzah. His default mode was, that therefore also because Azad, Dvekas, and Torah, as per this Orachaim, is he's L'malam Ateva, so I could believe in Moifsim. So it's like almost beget of Omer Halo B'chol Yom, because this was his default. That was his normal. So not cherry picking of how he rose to a particular challenge that's reflective on some dormant godless that it came out in this amol. This was normal, right? And that's the issue that I wanted to speak about tonight. So you talk about moifsim. I had a moifus today, a Reb Chaim Dik moifus today. I had conceived the basic rudiments of what I want to say tonight, and I decided it's going to be called, is there an absolute normal? Is there an absolute normal? Right? And that's the truth for Reb Chaim, right? Is there an absolute normal, right? And I was listening to other Hespedim of Reb Chaim, and the famous singer Dedi Graucher has a son, I forget his first name, who was hung around Reb Chaim and produced these videos, and I was listening to how he was interviewed, and I thought, so this is like separate. I'd already thought about how the title of tonight's discussion, and I'm listening to Hespedim from this son of Dedi Graucher, right? And then a cousin of mine, Moshe Daniel Shochet, sends me a video. Sends me a video of Reb Chaim was with this guy who I was listening to, right? The son of Dedi Graucher is with Reb Chaim, right? And he asked Reb Chaim, he brings a famous Chazal, Achos Nachshon, that mikan, that we want to do a shidduch, you check out the brother, right? So this guy who, right before I was listening to him being maspid Reb Chaim, this guy in the video asked Reb Chaim, so you check out the brother. What do you want to see in the brother? What do you want to see in the brother? So said Reb Chaim, Shiyeh normali. Should be normal. Okay. So the guy asked him, right? It's unbelievable. No, it's unbelievable. This is not, this is unbelievable. This is right. Shiyeh normali. So he asked him, Maze liot normali. What's to be normal? Shildeh lumod. That's it. That's called normal. I learned. So he asked them like this. So let's say this girl has one brother that's into learning and one brother that isn't. How do you decide? So do half a shidduch. Right? That's what I said. Do half a shidduch. All right, that's what I said. And so this guy, this wise guy who brought the whole question, so he said, okay, all right, I'm going. Sharav yiten li bracha. It said bracha, Baruch shepatrani. Right? Right? All right. Right. And then so my cousin who sent me this video said, look how normal he was. And but here's the thing, normal, right? How do you define normal? So Reb Chaim's normal was his normal, which is begetter b'chol yom, that we can't say how long that was his normal, right? Is to be shakua and limud, right? To be master to Klal Yisrael, right? And to him, Moifsim was like, a davar shoma b'kach arei. He's just going with the koach HaTorah, and to Torah's l'mala min hateva, right? That's his normal, right? So the pasuk says, I'm approximating anyway. If I had to say the pasuk accurately, I would have to say it mitoch haksav, right? So roughly, I think it's pasuk cause Rasal kimes adam yashar, v'hema bikshu cheshbonos rabim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made Adam straight, right? But Haim, they and it goes switches from Lashon Yachid to Lashon Rabim. Haim bikshu cheshbonos rabim, right? And Chazal and the Svar Makdoshim further expand and explain that this refers to Chet Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon was Yashar, right? What's synonymous with the term Yashar? We know that in geometry, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Go straight, beginning, middle, end, What's also beginning, middle, end?
MS.
MS. Right? As a famous Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Devarim, MS, Aleph, the beginning of the Isis, Mem, the middle, and Tov, right? The last one. And the Ramchal, right? And the Ramchal in or Talmud of Ramchal, Das Moschel Sheni, darshans on this, how the Yashar is a geometrical representation of MS, right? Right? It's a geometrical representation of MS, right? Because there's only one truth, one absolute truth. And also, as we know, there's only one straight line between 2 points. And he goes on to explain how Am Yisrael and the Torah is both called Yashar and it's called MS, and they're actually synonyms, right? Mm-hmm. Yashar being a geometric, so that's it's called Torah's MS, right? Mm-hmm. And Am Yisrael is called Kula Zera MS, right? Mm-hmm. Zera MS. We're also called Yesharim, right? Yisrael Miloshin Yashar. Yisrael, Yeshurun, as my Rebbe Moshe Shapiro, we have Yashar encoded in us, and Sefer Bereshis is called Sefer Yesharim. Al Shem Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Shnikru Yesharim, right? Right? They fought for truth, right? That the Yashar and the Emes, just like there's only one truth, that just cuts through all the baloney. And it goes from beginning through the middle to the end. And that's mamash parallel to the Yashar. Mm-hmm. And the Ramchal in that place, in that Sefer, goes on to say that in Hashgacha, there's Hashgachas that come besode Yashar. That, listen, it's simple cause and effect. And it just goes straight. This is what the Rebbe Shalom wants, and this is what happens, and there's no deflections, and there's no distractions, and there's no, right? And that's the ideal Hanhaga, and Am Yisrael is hooked up with that Hanhaga. But there's the Olam of Hema Bikshu Cheshbonos Rabin. The Cheshbonos Rabin. There's only one Yashar. But as Hema, it becomes Lashon Rabin. Bikshu Cheshbonos Rabin. Right? Because there you could have infinite, crooked lines between 2 points. Infinite crooked lines, only one straight line. Infinite falsehoods. Only one truth, right? Am Yisrael and the Torah is besod Yashar, MS Yashar, right? And Am Yisrael is what's really going on. Whether it's what's really going on in the Ukraine, the whole world was part of the conspiracy to sell out the Ukrainian people, right? On East and on West, right? The big v'nafoch was that no one expected the Ukraine's, but there's resilience, right? But in the Cheshbonos Rabin, all
they want to sell Ukraine?
I'll explain another time. It's not part of the right, but it was both East and West. I see no one's listening right now on the thing to make us all green and gay. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
They have Hungary in the way now. Hungary is very normal. No, because speaking about normal.
Yeah.
Might be a cheshbon because both moves.
No, in the Cheshbonos Rabin.
Because Ukraine was not good to the Jews. People tell me, people who come from Ukraine, they said they were maybe worse than the Nazis when it came to.
Yeah, no, they were bad historically. Now listen, we were in a terrible situation right now of period of this because the Chabad in Russia is pro-Putin, and the Chabad in Ukraine is calling the Chabad in Russia Messiah L'Rotzchim. It was in
the Chabad is doing what? They're supporting Russia.
The Chabad in Russia.
Yeah, because they're friendly with Russia.
No, but the Chabad in Ukraine is calling them.
Oh.
Chabad in Ukraine is calling the Chabad in Russia Messiah L'Rotzchim. Messiah L'Rotzchim. They're killing us all.
They have to be that way, or else they're dead.
Okay, I'm just saying. You say it's horrible what's happening. No, I'm just saying. It's, I should be rocking. No, but in the world of Cheshbonos Rabin, which was the.
This one. You can't get you eat anything.
I'll eat this.
Yeah.
You didn't bring any salt.
It's okay. No, we'll have some.
Nobody's on?
No. Right now, no one's on. But it's okay. But listen.
I'll tell you a story.
Go ahead.
You talk about normal, right?
Yes.
I probably told you the story already.
Maybe.
I tell her many times. Normal. That's it. She took me what normal. So this fellow.
Shidduchim, you want normal.
So the father of Chaim.
Yeah. The Stipler.
Was the Stipler.
Oh,
the Stipler at one time was big finance in the world. So there was a fellow who decided he wants to grow up to be like the Steipler.
Keep dreaming.
So, did I tell you the story?
No.
Yeah. So he says, I'm going to go there. He decides that he's not going to leave the basement. He's just going to wear his pajamas. But underneath his clothes, he's going to put his foot in cold water. He's going to hang around. He's not even going to get a bathe because it's a big waste of time. He's going to hang around the basement all night. They didn't know what to do with him. So they tried to lecture him. No, I want to be like this type. I want to be like this type. So Rosh Hashanah comes in and talks to him and says, no, I want to grow up to be like this type. Finally, they have nothing. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Take him to the Steipler. Let the Steipler straighten it out.
Right.
So he comes to the Steipler. Steipler says to him, I hear you sitting in the basement. You don't even want to change your clothes. You have your pajamas. Sounds like a very good idea, he says. Why do you think nobody else does it? You didn't think of it? What do you think? It's such a good idea that everybody should do it. Why do you think nobody does it? So the guy finally says, I don't know. Weil es ist nicht normal! When you tell the joke to
That's unbelievable. No, it's
okay.
so
that's the story. That's the type of the story. His famous story about the story. So now
it's not normal.
Oh, you don't know what it means? Yes. Well, it's not normal.
No, but that's it fits perfectly with the theme.
Normal.
No, because the Rambam writes this in the Shmona Prakim, right? That
I hope I didn't scare anybody.
No. That's it. Ram writes this in the Shmona Prakim that a person shouldn't, you'll see Hasidim and Kadosh Elyon, they do tzoimus and they wear coarse clothes. They shouldn't have any hanos aguf from the clothes, the stuff that irritates the body. Is that, of course they're mechavel l'shem shemayim, but they're doing it derech refuah. They're doing it derech refuah because they have a certain bad midah and they're going to the opposite extreme. That's not normal, and don't learn from them because you don't feed medicine to healthy people. It's nicht normal, like you're saying. And so of course, what they're doing, they're doing the right thing because they have a cheshbon of how it's their medicine. We don't feed medicine to normal people, healthy people, right?
I always say that Shmuel was not an ordinary human being. Shmuel V'Dorah, Moshe,
right?
Hannah, when she prayed for a child,
right.
She said, I don't want anything special. She said, just an average
Zera Noshim.
Just a regular guy. I want a child. I would have a child. But when Eli got angry at him and wanted to kill him, so she said, El Hanar Hazeh Hispalolti. By that time, he was already 3 years old. He had passed in the shadow in front of that. It was Chaim, he said, because he now had been placing the shadow. And she says, El Hanar Hazeh Hispalolti. So I asked the question.
Go ahead.
She said she wanted an average person. She didn't say she wanted
Zera Noshim.
Now she says, El Hanar Hazeh Hispalolti, knowing that he's going to be the God Lador. She already knew he was going to be a God Lador. So she wanted a God Lador. So what did she mean? She wanted a normal child. She didn't say, I don't want a genius, I don't want a novi, I don't want a tzaddik. She didn't say anything. She just meant, I want a normal child. So,
that's it, because greatness could be normal.
Yes.
That's the point that we want to bring out tonight. Greatness could be normal.
All the great people that we know were normal. Their emotions were so normal. And some Zalman and Chaim Shmuel, it's so normal. These people are so normal. You can't even imagine how normal. I mean, we're not as normal as he was. Chaim, you walk into his house, he comes out. Chaim Kanievsky I never met, but you must have met him.
I met him a few
times. I never
times.
saw Chaim Kanievsky.
I met him, but there's
so
no airs about him. Just there in his sweater.
He had his torn sweater, 20-year-old sweater. He said he had no looks at all. He looked like a poor man. That he didn't interest him at all. He said his pride was not dependent on wearing a nice suit, though. unfortunately, we didn't dress well because we want people to notice. But,
Yeah.
everybody noticed him anyway. But I really wonder what he was like in his youth. That's what I wonder, because see, my image of him is always this old man looking over and hardly being interested in all the nudgery that they were nudging him all the time, asking him the stupidest questions. And every stupid question in the world came across him. You know, do you ever notice that they have these Divrei Torah that they give out?
Mhm.
So the first question they ask goes to Chaim. They ask good questions, really good questions.
Sometimes, it's hit or
A
miss.
lot of them are good questions. And then the next one is a Drachi, they ask the next one.
Right.
And then the third one was to somebody else, and then anybody else could answer the question. But they gave written answers. You ever see with this?
I was there. I saw it firsthand.
Oh yeah. So what?
Yeah, and he went to Reb Chaim many times.
Oh, you went in for advice?
Some of them are charlatans.
So now you should be talking.
Some of them are charlatans. Some of them ask him questions and make fun of him in front of him and say certain things that are beneath his kavod and ask him and try to twist his arm. Some of them are real people who come and really want to hear what he has to say, and then they ask us his grandson to translate because he has a hard time hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And then every once in a while, there's a good shtick that everyone starts laughing. And when he says a joke, it's like his joke is like from the Torah. He
But you were there watching him for a long period of time.
I was there with a couple of people at the time going to get his Askama letter to try to help a certain yeshiva that takes care of boys who are losing, going off the path, so to speak. And as a result, we sat there and we had a whole discussion with him. I was there for about an hour with him, which is
really?
very out of the ordinary. And several different people speaking to him.
And you were a speaker there, or you just watching?
I was just watching.
Uh-huh.
And,
You were there just to get.
he made a very funny comment at me.
He saw you standing up there like that.
No, I said hello to him. He said to me, I said, you're not supposed to shit up. He made a very comedy-like, very interesting statement. And he said to me, he looks up, looks down, looks to me. Omar Rabbi Yochanan, Gavoa lo yisag vo'it, shema yitzet Toran. I forget what it says in the Gemara about a small person. Nanas lo yisag shema yitzet chavit or something like that. יהי רצון שתתחתן עם אישה נורמלית, שיצא לך ילדים נורמליים.
Is that what he said?
Laughing
he said
across. He said it to me. Everybody was laughing in the room.
I have a very tall son. He's not. You make him look short, but he's really 6'4", and he looks tall.
Okay.
So, the first time they read a shidduch with him, they read the shidduch that became my daughter-in-law, but she married my oldest son. But they read the shidduch because she's very tall. My daughter-in-law Rivka.
Yeah.
You met her.
Yeah.
She's very tall.
Right.
She's maybe 5'11". So they thought, well, then she has to marry a very tall fellow. So 6'4" is very good for a girl at 5'11". So my son said no. Ellie said, I don't want a tall girl. I want a regular girl because I don't want giant children. You know, I want. It sometimes goes to the mean. You know, goes to the mean.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes some kids are tall and some are short.
Right.
But he declined it before he ever met her. He declined it for that reason.
Yeah, but you stayed in the family.
My other son said, but I do like tall girls. So he married her. He has 8 children. They're all tall, by the way.
Right.
Every single kid is tall in the family.
Look, Balei Koma is considered to be a miler. Right, but
Sholem Melech was tall. He was head above everybody else.
Sheikh Movimala.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, but it's amazing how we're saying the same point, going back to how do you define normal? Is there such a thing as an absolute normal? How about normali? It keeps on coming up. It's amazing. I view this as all hashgacha pratis. That the world of Asher Elokim es Adam Yashar, right, Yashar. Well, there's only one straight line. A lot of concerns, just only the cheshbonos rabim of political correctness, political savvy, street smart.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist. Right? So go one step deeper. What the Ramchal writes in the Das Tunis, he makes the observation: the neshama is not made up of parts; it's a pure achdus. Right? right? The guf is made up of parts, and the compartmentalized parts. The eyes see, but they don't hear. The ears hear, but they don't see. And v'cheina, he says all pirud is mitzad the guf, mitzad the hester panim, because in non-absolute, there's infinite possibilities. In non-absolute, in absoluteness, only one possibility. Right now, the goal is that the neshama should conquer the body and use the body just to bring out, like you put the white light through the prism to show the colors that are nichlal in the white light. But it's not a real pure. It's just to show that in the pashtus is not shallow. Pashtus does not mean shallow. Pashtus just means that it's not needlessly complicated, but it could be infinitely deep, right? Just you need some hesber to show, right? And that's like what the guf was supposed to be to neshama, a prism to show all the colors that are nichlal in the Or neshama. Problem is that the guf was gover over the neshama, right? And then all the cheshbonos rabim, all the phobias, all the strange deviant tivus, and all those things, they're mitzad the guf. Now all these phobias, tivus, were never supposed to really take up space in our consciousness, right? We just use the guf as a kli to show all the errors that there are in the neshama. Right, but now when the guf was goiver over the neshama, which was happening with Eitz Hadas, it's Hema Bikshu Cheshbon. Now there's political savvy, political correctness. There's street smartness, slyness, and when you're living in that world, there's a taka halacha that im ikesh tispatel. Im ikesh, there is a halacha of im ikesh tispatel that you're allowed to lie to the liar to get what you really want. But that's a very dangerous path because you could get caught up in it also, right? Yaakovinu, before he had to go to Beis Lavan, was Ishtam Yoshev Ohalin. Ishtam Yoshev Ohalin. What does Rashi say on the term Ishtam Yoshev Ohalin? He's not Bucky in Ramos. It's not it. But by the time he's got to go to Beis Lavan, Yaakov Achicha Ochivani Baramos, because he knew he was going right. Nebuch becomes, that when you have to go down into that world, right? So, if you have to deal with it, then you have to be even more crooked than the crooked to get it back to straight. So, going back to that writings of the Talmud of the Ramchal, to talk about Yashar and Emes, right? And only Am Yisrael is hooked up with that Yosher. Said, but the reason why the Hashgacha looks so like God works in mysterious ways, it's so roundabout, and you only get to what God really wanted out of it, like 30 years later, 100 years later, it's besodim ikesh tispato, because of mankind was hema bikshu cheshbonos rabim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want to be mevatel bechira, doesn't want to override bechira, so Rebbe Hashem has to now outsmart and out-crooked the crooked, and that's the side of why the Hashgacha goes in such roundabout ways. It's besodim ikesh tispato, achivani baramos. But that should have never been. That became a necessary evil that, as it were, we forced God into that.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So we say Elu ve'elu divri elu v'kim Chaim, right?
Right.
Now, if there was only one path, you would never say Elu ve'elu. How could you have two Pshatim?
Okay.
And they go side by side.
Okay, excellent.
One conflicts with the other one.
Okay, very good. So I'll tell you what my Rosh Shiva said, Rav Yaakov Weinberg, on that. He asked me, x squared is equal to 4. What's x?
2.
Only 2?
Always 2, is it always 2? And pretty much, yeah.
No. -2 times -2 also equals positive 4. A negative times a negative equals a positive.
Uh-huh.
It's 2 and -2. Right? They're both mathematically correct. It says, and afterwards I found a smooth what he said in the Maharal. Elu ve'elu divo kim Chaim. Torah's x squared equal to 4.
Excuse me. You asked me if 2 times 2 is always 4, and I said yes.
But -2 times -2 is also equal to 4.
And it's not in conflict with my statement.
No, so that's what he's saying.
Always 4.
So that's what Rosh was saying.
Well,
that Beis Hillel is 2, Beis Shammai is -2, and that's why it's Elu ve'elu divo kim Chaim. because 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Negative negative 2 is also equal to 4. But halacha kedivrei Beis Hillel, because only positive 2 is practical. Negative 2 only exists in the realm of theory. Negative integers don't exist in physical reality. That's what you tell me. Yaakov Weinberg.
And you can grasp that. You grasp that. You think it's a good answer?
I think it's the only answer.
I don't know.
Torah is x squared is equal to 4. That's Torah. Beis Shammai is negative 2, and Beis Hillel is positive 2. Positive times 1 is equal to 4. Negative times 1 is equal to 4. But still the same Baskel say halacha kedivrei Beis Hillel. So why? They're both right? No. Because is negative 2 practical? It's not practical. Because we don't live in a universe of negative integers. It exists in the world of theory. And that Shammai, Miloshin Shamayim, that's a Zohar. Shammai, Miloshin Shamayim. So he's Himmeldik. So he lives in the world of theory. He's Himmeldik, right? So he's a Shamayim. So so he could conceive of a negative 2 also to solve the Torah equation.
You'll explain it to me later.
No, it's a simple algebra.
I can explain it to you, but it's a whole discussion. It's a whole long discussion. You have to explain to them. The Ramchal says in Das was on Mesibos, and he wrote the whole thing. You have to explain to them the whole process. But why sometimes things look against it.
No, so the Sibas always saying
that really are Adela Kosh Baruch Hu. It had to be that way because of the problems that we and what we're doing.
So that's
God has to play with it, do with it. The same thing we're doing, He's got to do with us, and therefore it looks like there's no God in the world. But really, there is. It's just that it's in the opposite reaction.
Okay, but that's what we're saying. That's besodim ikesh tispato. That which God Dashgacha goes in crazy roundabout ways is because man chose Cheshbonos Rabim. Man chose Cheshbonos Rabim. Hema Bikshuleta. So Rebbe Shalom still doesn't want to be Mavato Bechira, right? So he has got to be Besodim Ikesh Tispato. That's halacha. You're allowed to outsmart the guy who's trying to outsmart you. So the Ashgacha goes in that derech because that's the halacha. But we force the Ashgacha to go that way by being Bikshu Cheshbonos Rabim. So Rebbe Shalom has to go in Ikesh Tispato. But the Rebbe Shalom doesn't want the Hanaga to always be that way. Am Yisrael and the Torah is besod still of Elokim Asas Adam Yashar, right? So,
it's a clean cup.
Fine, that's it. That's a good one. Chaim.
You have to make a bracha.
Shmaryo Yosef Chaim ben Rav Yaakov Yisrael. Susa Yogen Aleinu. Yosef Chaim ben Yaakov Yisrael. Amen. Right?
They owe me a bottle. You know that.
They do?
They failed to deliver me the.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that round, beautiful round?
Hey, Lisa, they Spruce Devin owes him a bottle.
They owe me a bottle. There was a rosé. I have a picture of the rosé. Oh, no, I don't have it anymore. It's my old camera. I think maybe I have it.
Mm-hmm.
So they mocked out.
I don't care. According to the 0 people in the room. People just have to deal with my normal. I'm sick and tired of.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I want that bottle. So
you jumped ship to iPhone? What happened to your BlackBerry?
I had to. It died. And there was no replacement. What can I do? I don't know if I took it. I didn't. You see,
it's right there for sushi. She bought beautiful, great sushi.
I had the old camera. So all my pictures in my old camera died. I couldn't get it on. I couldn't charge it up. I couldn't do anything. From 1 second working to the second not turning on.
You take it to a guy to look at him?
I didn't take it. I still have it. I might
take it.
So all you guys out there in YouTube land,
I think
we're talking about normal. This is the normal here. This is the normal in my family. This is the normal at my table. I hope you're able to hear all the wonderful stories that were shared, and we're going to continue in a minute. No, we'll keep on going.
Cell phones, laptops.
Right next to the FedEx.
It is in the FedEx.
In that FedEx,
by the.
I've been to the FedEx because sometimes I was going to, send out a package from there. I saw someplace on what's the name of the street that leads to
Gourmet Lot.
To Gourmet Lot, yeah. So there's a guy. Yeah, does he do it? Does he do that stuff?
He does
and he fixes all the time. Places. You ever bring something?
Interesting character.
Yeah? Does he know what he's doing? You want
I don't
some-
know. I
You
haven't.
like some sushi? Hey, you girls. you
I
want some sushi?
haven't.
Girl sushi?
I haven't put my
Uh-huh.
my care in his arm. I don't know.
So what wine is it you're ordering?
It's the rosé. It's the rosé.
Oh, and I can look up your order.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wrote I took a picture of my order too, and it also disappeared. All my pictures disappeared. I never downloaded.
See, my
it.
problem
They
with
don't have-
BlackBerry was not that the system wasn't good, that their company of one-offs.
By the way, this is a very good book. Bar. So my only argument with him, I didn't finish it. I'm in the middle. He's talking about everything that Trump did good, but he always has to zing him. Like everybody has to zing him. That's why I told him, don't tell me anything bad about Trump. I don't want to hear about his personality. I'm not interested in your evaluation. I'm interested in what he did as a president. And he went to war with all these crazy people. And he had total courage to fight everybody. Nobody thought he could accomplish anything, and he did it in the worst of circumstances.
Yes.
He didn't have to do this, but they didn't have to be. He writes about it. Barr writes. There's no such thing, before he took
Oh, what
office.
are you doing? Don't put that on the
Before
table.
he took office, they created
Young Israel of Long
what they
Beach
call
are
the
doing their wine
resistance.
event on Motzei
You heard about the
Shabbos.
resistance, right?
No,
Okay.
They were made up of Republicans.
They
They were
stole
made
it
up of
from you?
Democrats.
No, I got the idea from
You know what
them.
resistance? He says
But, like-
that is an insurrection.
I'm just wondering
Resistance
if they
is a term you
didn't do
use
it.
when in Ukraine, if
saw my
Russia were to
advertisements, they
take
pushed
over
it up, 'cause
Ukraine,
usually they do it
the
you know,
people
in
who were
February.
fighting for
before Purim.
Ukraine.
and
Oh
They
no!
call the
This year,
resistance.
February was a month
It
early.
implies that the
Because,
president is
because it was,
illegitimate and the resistance,
Alright.
and that he
Right.
stole the
Right,
country,
so it makes more sense to do it in
and,
March.
and
Right.
you have a right, therefore, to
It's a
resist
son of
it.
a embarrassed. Even they know
That
a little
is
bit.
insurrection.
There's a book. There's a
The,
book.
the very creation is just how could they? Yeah,
This is a book that talks about all the Trump's accomplishments.
days of Trump. Well, every book that writes about him talks about. his
No. This
accomplishments.
is a guy. This is a guy who doesn't write anything political. His
Uh-huh.
entire thing is literally showing all the data. He's not
Mhm.
getting into any side.
Yeah.
His whole point is. I
Well,
watched
that is a side. That is a side. There's no such thing as not getting. To
No, I
the
mean
side.
he's not talking.
Because I
He's
do the
not
same
talking
thing.
good
I'm
or
on
bad.
his side.
And I'm not saying.
Because-
I'm not saying.
Because I repeat over and over what he
Oh,
did.
no. I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
What is it?
What you're saying initially.
I'm talking.
he was-
I'm talking about. I'm not
Did he
talking.
vote? Did he vote for Trump?
This
Did he
guy,
vote?
no.
Yeah. He didn't vote at
No,
all.
he's a journalist. He did pure journalism. His whole point is trying to be the. He says he talks to Larry Elder. You know
Does he
that
criticize him for his
he
personality?
criticizes him not for his personality. He criticizes him for his way in intimidating people or not intimidating.
Yeah, that's his behavior.
Yeah. No, but he says that there's two Trumps. There's the
Mhm.
Trump who gets stuff done, and there's the Trump who's the
He
party
defends
guy.
himself. He defends
Yeah.
himself.
Who's the party guy who has like who's constantly like doing things and getting people in their face. He says the first week of Trump, all the media
It's all
had to
the same
hire
Trump.
300 new people. Almost every place had to hire because he had such a media section.
That's right, and that's how he
Mhm.
got his things done.
Right, correct. So the
It's all
point,
the same
the
Trump.
point, the
I
point is,
tell everybody that's how we got it.
no,
You want a
exactly.
different
What I'm
Trump.
saying is this
That
guy,
Trump that you want is not going to get this done. Because
right, this
That's
guy, for sure. But he specifically writes in his book his accomplishments. His whole thing is about accomplishments.
Mhm.
It's about the stuff that can't be debated. It's about the stuff that's not
So
political.
you tell me what is the other side doesn't acknowledge that.
The other side doesn't acknowledge
They
it at all.
don't acknowledge
Not
it.
at all.
They don't acknowledge it.
Right, correct. I agree with you.
They don't
They
understand.
pass
What,
me the wine.
they say anybody would have done it. Anybody could have
Yeah,
done it.
yeah. I even heard one guy say that Obama. This is how crazy this guy is. Obama made the road for Trump, and Trump just did whatever he.
Obama signed a deal with Iran. Trump broke the deal with Iran. Obama came to him and told him that Korea is going to be a war. You can't ever sell your bomb Korea.
There's one thing
You don't want to make peace.
There's one thing I got to say that pops up all the time, and as a result of the pops up all the time, I came to one conclusion.
What?
One conclusion. One thing that pops up all the time it says you could bring a horse to the well, but you can't make him drink, and that's pretty much everybody in politics. Anyone who wants to see one way and doesn't want to see another, you cannot change their opinion, their point. It's just going to be a noise and background noise in the background. It's not going to change. So the only way to get through to this
So the only
guy,
thing is to talk to people who agree with you.
yeah, the only way to talk to this guy is just say, okay, we have different opinions. It's just, you're not going to get anywhere. That's the
Sarah,
first
so
thing.
you want
Yeah,
some
hi.
sushi?
Did you call me?
So I don't believe that there's a point to discuss certain things. With
Well, I will tell you why I do it, knowing that I'm never going to convince the person. So I want to hear how they think. I want to understand what logic they use.
They don't think it's big.
And
It's
the best thing
Cheshbonos
is to
Rabin.
just listen, like you say.
It's
and
not
to
Yashar, it's
respond,
Cheshbonos
or
Rabin.
respond in a very, very neutral way. Like,
what logic is
how
that?
do you explain this? Or
It's
how do you explain
Cheshbonos
that?
Rabin.
He's right. He's right.
It's not Yashar, it's Cheshbonos Rabin, which is the point they were trying to get to.
It's Cheshbonos Rabin is sheker. Shin kuf reish. It's out of. First of all, it's out of alignment because it's the other way around, right? It's a reish kuf, whatever it is. It's the other way around, and they mix it in between. That's what cheshbon. It's like a cheshbonos of what to say, what not to say, how to spin things. That's all it is. As a result, I don't eat fish, but yeah, I appreciate.
Oh,
it.
you don't need
No,
Doesn't
fish.
eat fish at all.
No, what I'm saying is like as a result of pushing
Oh,
this
yeah,
around,
yeah.
they're getting a response, but the response is not anything that will make any
Oh, he's
difference.
going to want this. He's going to want
It's a
this.
sheep.
She.
He's gonna
Yeah,
want
but
this.
again,
Can I show us some video? Can I show us some video? I
Sure.
have Instagram, and I only
She's
watch.
gonna take it
I watch
seriously.
these dogs. These dogs on
Golden
Instagram.
retriever?
Golden retrievers.
Huh? Yeah.
I think you need a golden retriever.
Yeah. Show 'em, show 'em.
Sonny,
Yeah. Look.
No.
she's here barking.
Look. It's not what it's doing. To watch it. That's him.
Her.
Oh. That dude was too loud. That dude was too
We're done
loud.
soon.
It's too loud. And you see? It's your dog.
Oh. No one's on.
I know.
You should
I
close
don't
it.
care.
Yeah, you might as well end it.
And then-
You're not talking about anything.
No, we're
This
gonna,
is awkward.
no. It's our normal. Yeah. I'm done. I'm done. I feel like I'm Chaim, yo. No airs, no shows, nothing.
You see they watch television, you see dogs watching television, you see? And they get all excited and jump at the television.
No, she does when she sees dogs. When she sees dogs or hears dogs.
He's watching a sport. He's watching again. You see he's watching again?
I think you need a dog just for me. Just,
I love dogs, but I'm never going to buy a dog.
your wife's not gonna go for it, huh? Your wife's not gonna go for it. She's gonna go with the two cars and two
She had a
bathrooms.
dog. She grew up with the dog.
Two cars, one
I never
bathroom.
had a dog.
There'll be two cars, two bathrooms, or two cars, one bathroom.
Look, you see the dog?
Look, anyone who's stuck with us so
She's
long,
looking.
yo, is
She's
a
looking
true
at the dog,
believer.
you see?
All right, now we're going to resume
Does she
Saints
know
of
that's
Divrei
a dog?
Torah.
Yeah, but they do watch stuff. Look.
Yeah, she needs to hear barking. Anyway,
Yeah, she sees barking like when we go walk the dog when she's.
I'll be back. I gotta make a quick phone call.
okay, fine. Pause this.
This one box. You see what they do? They give him a choice. They give the dog a choice. And he picks the wrong one. He realizes it. You see, he realizes it, and then he starts to get very upset that he picked the wrong one. You see? You see?
Yeah.
And then he
That's
starts to
funny.
bark. He wants to cook. Okay, anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah,
so
so tell me stories about him. I want to hear stories about him.
That's wrong.
Yeah, there are a lot of stories about people, you know. And what was he like when he was young, when he was sitting and learning?
So, no,
Before
so-
they made him into an icon.
yes, that's the whole thing. We really don't know anything. But that's what, He's like unbelievable how smart is, unbelievable but kids is unbelievable. It's
You want me to tell you
default.
another story about Chaim? I'll tell
Go
you a
ahead.
story about
Say
Chaim.
another story from Chaim. Go ahead.
Yes, another story about Chaim. So somebody came up with this one, and I told you also, because these are stories I tell about. Somebody came over to the stipend, and they said, "See, my stories go from my generation." Came to the stipler, and they asked him, and they told him, "I need a bracha." He said, "Well, you need a bracha." He said, "I have a child that's he's a builder. He doesn't want to sit and learn. He wants to do things. He wants to run around it." And I have a lot of grief. So the stipler looked at him and said, "There's nobody who had more tsar gidul banim than me with my Chaimo. Yeah. Nobody had more tsar gidul banim than me and my Chaimo. And look how he came out.
Really?
Don't worry about it, child. Don't worry. Sorry, I tell everybody. Some of these geniuses, are not. You can't control them. Can't control their mind works so fast. They're bored with everything that goes on in them, and they're looking for more. So you put them in a class, and in 3 seconds they grasp everything that's going to happen for the whole year. Then they're bored. They're bored. They want to go someplace, so they start to shifting. And
No.
later on in life, when they find their right place to be and where they could express all their abilities.
So I want to get some examples of that. I want to hear how Reb Chaim pulled pranks when he was young.
I was about to tell you.
Go ahead.
The most interesting things are not hagiographies, they're biographies, where you talk about the conflicts and the difficulties that they ran into and how they solved them, and how they were, not the ideal kind of a gadol. He just sits and learns all day, but because they took some action and they took on, the powers that be, or things like that. Like they have a story about, I think, Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg. I can tell the story about Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg when he was young.
Right.
Did I hear it from you? I don't know where I heard it from.
Yeah.
He was like 8 years old, and they sent him to yeshiva. And the Rebbe told him, the story where the Rebbe told him that the house was burning, and this man and this woman was burning, and she was leaving the house, and
I could have saved her by ripping off her clothes.
Yeah, by ripping off her clothes, but I didn't do it. I didn't touch her.
Right.
And he won't go back to yeshiva anymore. That was his
That's
right.
right. That's right.
He won't go back to yeshiva.
I bring that
where
story in
did I
my
read that?
sefer.
I read it in the sefer?
In my sefer, I bring it.
Yeah.
In the Evan
So these are the stories of people, in young ages already. They show their brilliance.
And that's the whole point.
I like the story about.
No, so it's amazing how we're all getting back to the same point about the concept of normal. How do you define normal? Right? Reb Chaim wanted to be normal. Now, there is an absolute normal. So you mentioned Reb Yaakov Weinberg. So let me tell you a story. I saw with him privately once a week on Thursdays. That was my day for 7 years. So once I'm learning with him privately, and the phone rings. The lady at the switchboard said a call is coming in for Rosh Hashiva. Says, but I'm learning now. So a woman says, I humbly suggest the Rosh Hashiva take this phone call. Okay, put it through. And
who's the Rosh Hashiva?
Yaakov Weinberg. Right. So it patches the phone call through. And then, even though it wasn't on speakerphone, I could hear the whole thing. A woman screaming, Rosh Hashiva, he's beating me. He's beating me. And then you hear a smash, 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 tackle, whatever. And so obviously the husband, tackled her and grabbed the phone. Said, no, Rosh Hashiva, it's all her. It's all her. And she starts it all, and she brings out the worst in me, and it's all her. Right? She's not telling it, and then you hear smash. She must have hit him with a bottle, right? And then she takes the phone, says, no, it's really him, and he's really the one who starts it all. He gets me triggered, and then he blames it on me, and smash, and then you hear how he grabs the phone, and so finally, when things calm down, we say, okay, the two of you come to my office on Tuesday. And I'll hear you both out, and we'll see what. So it was like an emotionally exhaustive phone call. So Shiva was like, he needed a moment to cool down. So during that moment, I asked him the following question. I said, this whole psychology thing is about 100 years old, since Sigmund Freud. How did mankind manage until 100 years ago, before they developed, psychology, cognitive therapy, and all these things? All right. He looked at me, gave me a cynical smile and a cynical laugh. I said, you think about it. All right. So what I realized is that, again, going back to what we're saying, what's normal? When the neshama dominates the body, right, and the spiritual dominates the physical, right? So you have yashar, and you don't have the cheshbonos rabim. A lot of our psychological problems, whether it's phobias or bad tivus, deviant tivus, it's all from the realm of cheshbonos rabim. And they shouldn't really, they should not really be taking up, right? They shouldn't be taking up any space on the radar of our consciousness, right? The world of cheshbonos rabim is.
I feel that there's a lot of psychology, even in the Chumash, there's a lot of psychology.
There's a lot of wisdom.
Tomorrow you find tons of psychology.
Oh yeah,
That's all when it talks about.
But a lot of the mental problems, the phobias, and the problems that we're facing right now, all the queerness, that belongs to the realm of cheshbonos rabim. That should have never taken up so much space. We shouldn't have allowed, that all comes mitzad the guf that's made up of many parts. We shouldn't have let that.
Part of normality is the ability to control your emotions and to be rational about it.
Right.
And part of people who learn Torah understand that they have to control their emotions, they have to control their tightness, they have to control everything.
Right.
And so they train themselves to do because they know that's the good way.
And that's normal. And that's correct. That's Ezu Derech Yeshara.
Abnormal thing is this person lets his emotions control him.
And that's cheshbonos rabim.
Even such things as arrogance.
Right.
You want to be arrogant sometimes. Let's see the other person is really stupid. We had a Gemara very recently, where Rebecca said to somebody, I think it was Rebecca, you don't have a brain. That's a Gemara 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
It was Levi. Who was it? Said Levi, I think. Said something. I want to ask you a question. Ask me a question. He says, you don't have a brain. You're missing a brain in your head. And the end of the Gemara comes out that the other one was right. The Cheshbon. They made a Cheshbon. Yevama's question. He asked me Yevama's question.
Right.
Said you don't have a brain. And then the Gemara goes into the whole intricacies of how complex the question was. And self, the Gemara justifies the one who didn't have the brain. Didn't have the brain. It's the Gemara Yevama's. So, I mean, there are times you see a lot of emotion in the Gemara, by the way. You see anger. You see cursing. You see jealousy, even a little bit of, I don't know where, but in Kanievsky Chaim, they say it's something that you could interpret as jealousy.
Right.
You see all the meters come out. Even among
What I say.
They don't hide these things. So what? So I'm trying to say that normal is a person who he does anger a little bit because that's normal to get angry. In certain circumstances, very normal to get angry. In certain circumstances, not sufficiently justified to get angry. You're supposed to remain cool. You see that Moshe Rabbeinu got angry because Baruch depicts himself as getting angry. He does depict himself as getting angry, which means which means that there were times when you're supposed to. I can get angry. You see someone like Pinchas, he got angry at the guy.
Right.
Or maybe he didn't get angry. Maybe he just didn't say, because you're not allowed to do it out of anger. You're supposed to do it out of rational. But it's Kanoim Pogim, it's called Kanois. Right. That's called Kanois. Kanois, Kanois.
Right.
So all these things have a place, but there's a measured place in society for it. What's considered normal, what's not considered normal. It's not considered normal if a person never gets angry. He never gets angry. He's not normal.
Okay, yeah. So
You see somebody killing or beating up. Yes, Rabbi Weinberg is a good
Right.
example. You see somebody beating up his wife. If you don't get angry, you're really not normal. And do you remember who lost the election because he didn't get angry enough? Do you remember who lost it? Dukakis. Do you remember Dukakis? They said they asked him in the debate if somebody raped your wife in front of you, what would you do? Oh, we have a system to deal with. Lost the election because nobody thought that's normal. You saw somebody raping your wife, your daughter. You're supposed to say, "I would kill him on the spot." That's your reaction. I would kill him on the spot. But he lost the election. Do you remember?
He lost the whole nomination.
That's not
No?
normal. They lost the nomination or the election. Then remember that was the one with Willie Horton and the whole thing. I think that was him also. That wasn't Dukakis. He didn't lose the nomination. He ran for office.
Oh, he ran against the Bush.
Who did he go against? Bush?
I think Bush.
Yeah. So
I
he's
thought it
the
was
first one to
Mondo,
go
man.
against. He lost the election because of that. That one thing caused him. Another thing he did, I think, is he got on top of the tank and he put the helmet on. People do things that the public doesn't like. They could lose an election on that basis alone because it doesn't look true to their character. It doesn't look true. It looks like De Blasio. Do you remember how he ate pizza with a fork and a knife?
I remember.
But he
No.
won the election anyway.
But the British people
was so
do that.
abnormal. That was abnormal.
Yeah.
You're too cautious. You're too good. That's not the way gentlemen eats it. You eat sushi. You could eat with your hands. You could eat sushi with your hands if you want. So that's the story. The
Okay.
story is there is a level of normal.
There's
that
an
you
absolute
cannot
normal.
define. That you can't define. You
No,
can't
that's the
really define.
point. No, that's Reb Chaim was his
So
own
I'm
type
sure
of
that
normal.
Moshe got angry sometimes. I'm sure, but Shlomo Zalman said he never got angry at his wife. He never did anything. He never had to apologize to his wife. He said it after she died. He said, "I'm not asking forgiveness to my wife because I never did anything to have to ask forgiveness."
Oof. So okay, so no, but
It's a
here's
rich statement. That's a rich statement to make.
yeah. So here's the thing. Simplicity doesn't mean shallow. Simplicity just means ois cheshbonos rabim. Let me ask you. When we learn with kids, we start with Mishnah, then we move on to Gemara, and then we do Gemara Rishonim, then we do Gemara with Rishonim and Achronim. So now you might think, well, Mishnah is simpler than Gemara, and then Rishonim are simpler than Achronim. But wait a minute, isn't the Mishnah, aren't they greater? Aren't the Tanaim greater than the Amoraim? Aren't the Rishonim greater than the Achronim?
That's a statement.
Right? So why is it that, with the kids, we start with Mishnah, right? Then we move on to Gemara, and then and then Achronim. Now, it seems also the Achronim are a lot more sophisticated.
Well, that's fine.
And
You
argument-
go on the Mishnah, so you have to learn the Mishnah first. You didn't start with the Achronim.
Right?
You're explaining something.
Not. So the answer is like this, right? Right? They're not greater. The pilp of the Achronim, which the Rishonim, they speak Bekitzer, and they say, very simple kasha, and they say a teretz, and then the Achronim make these long pilpulim, similar to the relationship between Mishnah and Gemara, right? Pashtus is not shallow. But Pashtus is, as it were, it's like white light, right? And the later generation who are actually smaller and are more fragmented. So in fragmentation, you see the colors, right? So that and aside from the fact that you don't even need speculation and argumentation, when you see the truth. So we shouldn't make the mistake of thinking the Amoraim were, with their pilpul were deeper or more intellectual than the Tanoim, and we shouldn't think that the Achronim were deeper or more intellectual than the Rishonim. Right? There's the Yashar, versus the Cheshbonos Rabin. Now we need a little bit of both. Like you just need Guf and Neshama to bring out the colors that are Nichlal, right? But you don't want the Kli that brings out the, or like white light. You put it through Kalim. So the red Kli will show you red, and the blue Kli will show you blue, and it's all Nichlal in the white light. Because otherwise it wouldn't cause the red light, the red Kli to shine, and won't cause the blue light to shine, if not for the fact that that the white light is kolel, both red and blue. Right? Otherwise, the red Kli would remain dark.
It's quite incredible.
Wow.
Like a prism, like a real prism.
Really
You put the prism, it separates the light into multiple different colors.
Right.
All the colors of the rainbow.
But you don't
In
want
reality, it's
the
only one color.
Kli that brings out the prism to be goiver on top of the ore. The Hema Bikshu Cheshbonos Rabim is when you want the Kli to be, the ore is klali and
Right.
kolel everything,
Right.
and when the Hema Bikshu Cheshbonos, you want the Kli,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you want the Kli to be goiver over the ore. You want the guf to be goiver over the neshama. You want all the phobias and all the deviant tivus that are in your biochemical mind to be gover over the consciousness that your neshama gives.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You want the neshama to be over the.
Right. So the cheshbonos rabim, of the achronim as opposed to the rishonim, the cheshbonos rabim of the Gemara as opposed to the Mishnah. It's not indicative of Aliyah Sadaris. It's either you read a Sadar, so they don't see what they saw, so they have to use speculation, or alternatively, they're doing the avoda of showing what was nichlal in the Mishnah, and the Achorim are showing what was nichlal in the Rishonim, and that's the proper balance of the neshama in its diversification and its diversity of the different kalim to show all the different kochos that are bets and nichlal in the neshama. That's one achdus.
I'll give you an example.
Go ahead.
If somebody goes to a doctor
Yes.
and they say, "Oh, my shoulder's hurting me,"
Okay.
so he answers, "What's the problem?" So, this and this is the problem. Take this and this and this. And so
Okay.
you walk out. You're not a doctor. You don't even know what he's talking about. He is giving you the final conclusion based on all the reasoning that went through his head and all the information that he accumulated years and years of practice. One instant to give you an answer. That doesn't mean that answer taught you anything. It just gave you a final conclusion. Now you go home, and now you start to open up the books, and you try to figure out, how did he arrive at this? Well, it's this possibility, this possibility. Here's the evidence. That's the Gemara. But Mishnah just makes a bold statement. Krishna, you read at such and such a time. There's no source. There's no reason. There's no logic. There's no nothing. There's nothing. It's the final statement. But it consists of a lot of depth.
Right.
So
it went through a huge process before.
So is Torah. If you read a Chumash, you read a pasuk.
I'm
There
saying.
are worlds of information in that one pasuk.
So the explanation is the prism to show what was nichlal in the idea.
Right.
But you don't want the explanation to obscure the idea.
Right.
And that's the challenge. Right? Sometimes a Rav says a word, when you strip away all the moaning and groaning and the reference to the chicken soup in the soul and all the etzem word is just, he didn't say that much substance. Right? But everyone loves what he says.
Can I tell you a joke?
Go ahead.
So you probably know this show.
Go ahead.
So this fellow is a journalist. He's a journalist.
No.
So he goes, it's a joke.
Go ahead.
So he goes, probably happened. So he's in shul, and the rabbi gets up, makes a speech.
Right.
About 40 minutes. Nice, beautiful speaker. Elaborate. When it's all over, he walks over to him and says, "I loved your speech. I'm a journalist. I'd like to write it up. Could I have permission?" I said, "Sure. No objection at all."
Okay.
He says, "Rabbi, this one problem I have. My column, they only give me 4 inches to put the whole thing in there. Do you think you could give it to me so I could fit it in the 4 inches? Rabbi says, sure, I could do it. He says, so why didn't you?
No, that's the problem. And that's why a lot of these featured speakers, it's not for the content, although it's for the moaning and the
Yeah,
groaning.
it's for
and,
the
you know,
the
Well,
acting
the
out.
motions.
The
You can
acting
say
out.
a lot of it is to portray.
It's acting out. It's acting out.
and that's the Cheshbonos Rabin, not the Yashar.
Actually,
Not for the essence.
It's the good speakers who know how to do that. If you just give content, it doesn't do anything.
I know. It's the story of my life.
No, you're good at that. You're a good speaker.
Anyway, but
You're the opposite.
And then you have to use the prism. The prism is the perfect.
You have to use what?
Let's use the prism. You give a prism. If a body is like the light, a body is one and has all the Ivarim. It's a vessel for the neshama, right?
Right.
And the body has organs. And if you take light, you put it through the prism. There's multiple different colors.
right.
They're basically a
The group
relation.
shows all different kochs the Shama
Exactly.
has. The Shama must be able to see because it makes the eye see. The Shama
Right.
must be able to hear because it makes the ears hear.
But it has every individual organ, just like the light is split into multiple different colors. Right? But the purpose of the prism is to allow the neshama to function, not till all the colors to spread out, which is what the gay flag is between me and you. It's a spreading of every. It's to allow the body to have a vessel in this world through using the neshama. It's kind of like it's the perfect example to explain.
How do you like this Supreme Court woman? What's her name?
Who?
This woman, Jackson. Jackson. They won on the Supreme
Katani
Court.
Jackson.
She's gonna get on Jackson. Katani Jackson. Yeah. What's a woman? I'm not a biologist. I can't tell you what a woman is. You saw that, right?
No,
So-
but
Man,
Oh, you don't know what's going on there? You saw it, right?
I don't watch this stuff.
that's the point.
That's what she answered.
I've had enough. I don't watch this stuff.
The intellectuals,
So now I'm going to read to you what somebody wrote.
the intellectuals live in the world of Hema Bikshu Cheshbonos Rabin. That's what intellectualism is.
Mhm.
You know, modern intellectualism is in the words of that, living, dyeing your hair pink and being in university all the days of your life. Saying a lot of different svaras that are reality challenged,
Mhm.
and that's the Hema Bikshu
Is it
Cheshbonos Rabin.
Yeah.
It's thunder.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
used to
Hema
watch- I used to
Bikshu
watch it
Cheshbonos Rabin.
He's reacting to it.
She's reacting.
I didn't see the genitals, so I don't know.
You didn't check. It's like
I don't know what a woman is. So somebody wrote this. Okay, so what they wrote. I'm not trying to do that.
I don't care anymore. Your mouse.
The test if somebody's a man or woman because we don't go by.
we
Yeah,
don't
so
know
far-
anymore.
We don't know anymore. These
No, that doesn't help. That doesn't help.
No, the
That
question
doesn't
of
help.
the question about all these things about what is a man, what is a woman, right? What's it's basically what is normal, and that's the realm of Hema Bikshu Cheshbonos Rabin, right? And Reb Chaim was from the world of Elkim Asas Adam Yashar.
Right.
So you didn't have any pretensions, no political savvy. And some people went to Frades who came out and said, he is so reality challenged. No, the world, you're in the world of Hema Bikshu Cheshbonos Rabin,
Right.
and to you, that you care about covet and the answer he gave didn't get you the covet that you wanted,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, he's reality challenged. But what's reality? What's normal?
Your reality is challenged.
That's the whole point. Who's the real normal?
He is.
He was the real normal.
Mhm.
He and his inability to relate to certain things, right?
Mhm.
So who's crazy, him or us? We're in the world of Hema Bikshu Cheshbonos Rabin. He is in the realm of Elkim Asas Adam Yashar. He always taught, like we said, what we said at the beginning of this session, and we'd like to thank all those who stuck with us until now. Right? He wanted normali, and this was his normali. He was the absolute
God's
and real
normali.
normal. God's normali. All right, what this is. What I'm going to say is just like this, and all I want to conclude is like this.
Is anybody there?
Right. They slip in and out. Right now, no one's there.
Mhm.
Right, no one's there. At this moment, right? And all I say is, in the spirit of normal
Mhm.
and Reb Chaim's normal, that's why we shouldn't praise his hasmada or his Mesiras Yeshurim, because that was his normal, right? We should take a lesson at it, because sometimes we tell these Kedorim stories like we're telling stories about Superman,
Right.
Batman, Robin, right? You know, this type of like legendary figure that we can never be, that we want to worship, which say it's normally. If a man like that could live in our days, it means it's possible. When you take it as like, you know, as a benchmark, right, of something we could achieve. Not like, you know, it was a malach and this and that. You know, it's talking about how it should be possible for me and you to go in his derech, to be yasher like he was, to be kol emezer, and that's what he would have wanted. He didn't want to be worshipped. He wanted people to follow his lead as to this is normally, the real normally, not the world of politics and political savvy and street smarts and woke and you know, and microaggressions and all these cheshbonos rabim, which is mamash the machlo of the door, right? Russia should help, you know, that the fact that he abandoned us, you know, right, is that we shouldn't lose our anchor to the real normally, the Elokim Asas Adam Yashar. It should help that we you know, we stop with the drama queen Judaism, right? Drama queen Judaism, and go back to the real normali, because the real normali of Am Yisrael is Mamleches Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh. Am Chacham v'Navan Agoy Agadol Hazeh, right? And that's the Reb Chaim was all about the MAGA agenda of make Am Yisrael great again. Schusa Yagen Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael.
Okay, let me see if you're a man or a woman. We'll run this test on you. You want to know if you're a man or a woman? There it is. Are you always cold? No. I can see you're never cold. Has a human ever popped out of you? Has a human being ever popped out of you? So far, you're a man. Have you ever decorated